It was bigger than the Merlin, more powerful than most car engines today, and yet you've probably never heard of it. The Rollce Royce Griffon, a 37-litre V12 monster that quietly changed the fate of aerial combat and lived a double life powering racing boats, muscle aircraft, and even tractors. But what if I told you this engine almost never made it to the sky? Our story begins in the early 1930s, a time when aviation was still finding its wings, quite literally. Deep inside the halls of Rolls-Royce, engineers were playing with fire, specifically 2,000+ horsepower's worth of fire. Enter the Buzzard and its racing cousin, the Rolls-Royce R engine, an aggressive, oil-spewing beast that tore through the Schneider Trophy air races like a bullet from a railgun. It was fast, it was unstable, and it was never meant for war. But tucked inside the ashes of those engines was a secret design, a 60-degree V12 that would later be called the Griffon. Now, if you're thinking, wait, wasn't the Merlin the famous one? Yes, but the Griffon was the Merlin's angry older brother, like a bodybuilder who skipped leg day but maxed out every bench press. In 1938, the Royal Navy came knocking. Their Fleet Air arm wanted an engine that could survive harsh salt air, low altitudes and, oh yeah, land on a moving aircraft carrier. The Merlin just wasn't cutting it, so Rolls-Royce got to work. The Griffon prototype first roared to life on November 30th, 1939. Perfect timing, right? Wrong. The world was at war, and guess what? The British government put all its chips on the Merlin. More proven, more available, and needed right now. The Griffon shelved. But the skies weren't getting any calmer. Aircraft were getting heavier. Bombers were getting faster. The Merlin was peaking. Then came the second chance. In the early 1940s, the Griffon returned. Now leaner, meaner, and smarter, engineers had squeezed 2,000 horsepower from it. Naval fighters like the Fairey Firefly and a brand new version of the Spitfire were waiting. But there was one massive problem. Something so dangerous, it almost killed the very pilots it was meant to protect. The Griffon's torque was monstrous. It could twist a plane off the runway, literally. Pilots trained on the Merlin would instinctively trim right for takeoff. But the Griffon's crankshaft spun the other way. Left-hand rotation. Guess what happened when pilots forgot? They slammed sideways on takeoff, especially terrifying when you're trying to take off from an aircraft carrier. Carrier landings already feel like trying to land a bathtub on a skateboard. Now add 4,700 lb-ft of torque. Good luck, mate. The solution, contra-rotating propellers. Two propellers spinning in opposite directions. Balanced torque. Smoother thrust. No more unplanned barrel rolls. By 1943, the Spitfire Mk14, with a Griffon 65 under its nose, became one of the fastest piston engine fighters in the world. Over 440 miles per hour in level flight. When the guns fell silent, many engines were left without a war to fight, but the Griffon, it found new battles on racetracks, in lakes and on farms. In 1979, a heavily modified P-51 Mustang, powered by a Griffon, set an FAI speed record of 499 miles per hour. Later, a Griffon-powered hydroplane called Miss Budweiser dominated boat races in the 1980s. On land, tractor pullers found out it could deliver up to 3,500 horsepower if you didn't mind the fuel bill. Imagine telling your local mechanic, "Yeah, I just need a quick tune-up on my 37-litre engine. Got a pull tonight." Today, the Rolls-Royce Griffon lives on in restored aircraft, roaring across air shows, thrilling crowds who never lived through its war. It powers memory, emotion, legacy. Each growl from a Griffon-powered Spitfire reminds us this engine was never just a machine. It was a lifeline, a last line, a legend. If you've ever been fascinated by power, precision, and the machines that changed history, this was one of them. But here's a question. What if I told you that the Griffon wasn't the most powerful V12 engine of its time? In our next video, we dive into the engine that outroared even the Griffon. Don't miss it, subscribe, hit the bell, and stay tuned, because history still has secrets left to reveal.